And now we're on to BIM Setout. So 12D model meeting the challenge. So what's the problem that we're having that needs this talk? So is BIM as smart as it looks? It is really good for doing clash detection, and it looks really pretty. I love playing with this stuff. It's good fun, and it's great to be able to import the data into 12D and be able to do clash detection like Hans showed. But is BIM as smart as it looks? How much is too much? Is this too much for a surveyor? Why do we need all this data? What can we do with it? What can a surveyor use from this? Probably this would be enough. They're just the grid lines. If I go back to the previous slide, you can see you looked at all the pretty data, but the main thing that the surveyor looks at there and says, oh gee, we've got grid lines, that's pretty good. So this would probably be enough. But what can we do with the rest of the pretty data? So I've just turned off a couple of models in there, and I've just left with some slabs, and then down the bottom I've got the footings there. Okay, this is where Sam chimes in and usually says, can you contour it? Well, yes, you can contour a tri-mesh, but why? Why would you want to contour a tri-mesh? So there's the options there where you find it in 12D. So where this came about is, I don't know if I can mention, but somebody contacted me about they had a 4-story structure that they've been given all this pretty data, and they said, how do I set this out? And I said, what are your options? He said, oh well, I've got a PDF and I've got this 3D data that I've read in from the IFC. I said, well, you could contour it. But what are you going to do with that? Contours equals set out strings. So what I did is I simplified the panel, the contour tri-mesh panel, and you've got a lot of settings in there, model for contour increment, blah, blah, blah. But all I care about is I want one contour at one height. So that's what we've got here. You can pick a tri-mesh or a model of tri-mesh, give it a model name, and then tell it the height that you want to contour. And you can see that I've gone 1 millimeter less than my actual slab level. So my slab level is actually 3.55. I've just come down 1 millimeter and said just contour at that height, and then give it a string color and line style. In that process, you know, when you get contours, you always get thousands of little vertices that you don't really want. So in that process, I just go filter those out, and you're left with, you can see in the image there, the outlines of all the footings, the outlines of the slabs on each level, and you can see the benefits of that. So then we can do the same sort of thing with bridge abutments. So this is if you get your data back from Revit as a surveyor, you're like, great, I've got this beautiful picture, this beautiful 3D object, but I need to actually be able to set this thing out. So that's the similar sort of thing. You can see what I've done is I'll just set a little pipe diameter so you could actually see it on the slide a little bit better, so you can actually see the strings, which I also recommend when you're playing with it as well, to go set some pipe diameters so you can see exactly where things are. So making BIM smarter. So this is being able to use the new option that Lee talked about, where I've got the strings now from my contours, and I want to embed those strings into the tri-mesh to make my pretty tri-mesh into a smart tri-mesh that 12D model can use properly. So I've just set there the headstocks, the strings that I created from my contours, and my tolerance to say any edge within 5 millimeters of those strings. I want to set the name and the color of those to the edges. So then 12D field can come in here, and for you guys who've not been into the survey room, this is what we do down there. So we like to set things out. So I've got 12D taking advantage of the Smart BIM. So on the left hand side, this is using the string set out. So what we're setting out is not really a string, it's a tri-mesh, but we're setting out the edges of the tri-mesh. So I actually don't pick a string, I pick the tri-mesh, and then it will give me a list of all of the edges in that tri-mesh. On the right-hand side, I've got a tin set out, but this is not really a tin, as you can see. And you can have the ability to set out vertical or normal to a tri-mesh face. So if I was hitting at the side of the tri-mesh, it would tell me the distance sideways to the headstock. Where I am there, you can see that I'm setting out the top of the tri-mesh there. And also, I like that's not me photoshopping that, that's actually live. As you move over the tri-mesh, it will highlight the triangle that you're actually going to set out, which is really handy to make sure that you're setting out the right triangle. So that's it for me and BIM, setting out BIM. If you have any more questions, I will be going through this in a little bit more detail in the survey room. So for your surveyors who have a bit more questions about that, we can cover that later on.